Welcome to this episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I am your host, founder, and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you for joining us today, and as always, over 228 episodes by the time this episode will be airing, on our way to a total combined in-studio, out-of-studio episodes, reaching a total of 300 by the end of calendar year 2025. So we have a huge goal there, as well as you know our other huge goal of reaching and helping 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. And we're doing that one person at a time, and we continue to, again, just dream that we're able to accomplish that. And again, not through us alone. There's so many other individuals, obviously, and God is a huge player as well in that. And again, if we can even just help one person, which we know we have, that is one less person that will have their voice or has their voice taken away and become voiceless. Now they have a voice, they have a way to share that, and they have a way to help advocate the way we're doing. So we had a previous episode where we really dug into some of the intricacies, details of the David Solomon human trafficking case, where things are at today versus where they were in 2012. But first, I want to give a welcome, and not only here in the United States, but for leaders, dignitaries, for joining us, being a part of this, of learning and wanting to be on the part of the solution and helping people as opposed to covering up. So we want to definitely welcome President Donald J. We want to, let me try that again. We want to welcome again President Donald J. Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, Second Lady Usha Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Senator Ted Cruz, FBI Director Kash Patel, FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, and again, we're a big fan of your podcast prior to you join the FBI, and we're continuing to watch the footage and content that you put out. Also, a big welcome to Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and Health and Human Service Secretary RFK Jr. And we talked about in our prior episode about the board meeting, the cabinet meeting with all of your cabinet, Mr. President, and where HHS Secretary RFK Jr. Slid in quote, ended HHS, Health and Human Services, as the role as the principal vector in this country for child trafficking. During Biden administration, HHS became a collaboration in child trafficking and sex slavery. And so that really, right, that ties into a lot of things, but one thing that comes to mind first is that over 300,000 migrant children that are missing. And we, hopefully with our show, our organization, and again, with your support, Mr. President, and your entire cabinet, and I forgot to mention, Elon Musk as well, who is leading and heading the Department of Government Efficiency. And we hope through many different avenues, but through some of the work Elon's doing, that he may be able to uncover some of what we have talked about with our past guest, David Solomon, who was human trafficked in 2012, whose story, whose everything has been covered up. And unfortunately, we know that the best of our knowledge, there's individuals within the U.S. government as well as the military and others that have been, probably seen that movie Yes Man, saying yes to everything. Well, these individuals are saying no. So anytime a police report came in, anytime a TikTok comes in, these individuals across different areas of the government, military, have said no. They've said, no, we're not going to take this any further. We're going to squash this. And so that's what's happened for the last 13 years. That's why we're not hearing about arrests of Bryan Davis, who is the primary captor of David Solomon, not only for the crimes he has committed against David, but many other children, as well as the harassment that is taking place against David and his wife, pregnant wife, who is trying to have a safe, healthy birth without being harassed about location and worrying about people trying to recapture David. And it's really, it's just hard to really talk about and fathom. And that's probably part of the reason why we're continuing to talk about this, is because we know that these things are happening. So with Epstein, right, we can't deny that didn't happen. The Epstein Island, et cetera. With Diddy, the trial's getting kicked off, but the allegations, it's hard to say that those things didn't happen with so many people coming out and speaking out and sharing their voice. And we invite anybody to come on our show who is willing to share their story. So if you've been affected by Epstein, Diddy, Bryan Davis, any others have been taken advantage of, definitely reach out, and we'd love to have you on so you can share your voice and turn away from being voiceless to sharing your voice with a pretty decent audience, I would say, especially if we're reaching the President of the United States here, which is just incredible. So what we did touch on a little bit, but I want to drill even more into this as we talk about the cover-up of David Solomon's story, human trafficking. There's another high-profile individual who has gone missing in a street in an area where this Mr. Bryan Davis is this human trafficker, where he lives in Tennessee. And David has come out from day one and so this is the Sebastian Rogers case. It's been all over court TV at times. Vinnie Politan, his closing arguments, Julie Grant's opening arguments, or opening statements. And it's just been in a lot of places from a true crime standpoint. And David came out to say on social media that Sebastian Rogers was most likely taken and is in the custody of Bryan Davis, who lives very close. If not on the same street, it's close. I don't want to share super specific information as you individuals and the Trump administration, well, and you're able to get that information. And so David's been mocked for that, for trying to help people. So we're obviously trying, as well as others, we're trying to help all people, especially people who have had their voices kind of diminished, suppressed. And so when David came out and talked about Sebastian Rogers and how that's very likely a high percentage linked to his captor, Bryan Davis, he's again been mocked, and people are calling him names. They've actually given him death threats, which is I don't understand. I don't understand a lot, and that's one of the areas that I really don't understand. So what does Sebastian Rogers, David Solomon, and others who have who we're finding out have been trafficked by Bryan Davis. What we're finding is they're all autistic or have some form of a disability or a challenge that they're working through that they have by no fault of their own. And so individuals are, like Bryan Davis, they're taking advantage of these individuals, trying to, be that father figure, that individual who wants to help and who wants to, let's say, if one of the individuals is writing good content that could potentially be published, well, Bryan will find out about it in a lot of these cases, not every single case, but a lot of these cases, and that's how I found out about David and going to church together years ago. But Bryan will find these areas like being autistic and having other disabilities to really prey on those individuals, knowing that they might not be able to call 911. They might not have the ability to run and escape, and that's just difficult to hear and difficult to talk about. And so we talked about Sebastian Rogers. We talked about David Solomon. We talked about also the I guess I said the lawfare, right? Mr. President, as you've had your share of different cases that have come in and gone for not nice reasons, or where people have accused you of things and you've been exonerated, and so we have an individual like David Solomon and his family. It's actually a reverse lawfare. So instead of I guess it's actually lawfare. I was trying to think through that a little more. But you have individuals like Bryan Davis and then his cronies, his individuals that help do the dirty work of chloroforming people and pulling up with that white van, and individuals go missing, and that's not right. And so when David decided that he wanted to speak out as being a human trafficking survivor, his captor, Bryan Davis, and his cronies, individuals, and one that we know for sure who is involved with harassment and on a daily basis is Scott Minor. And so, Scott, we're bringing you into this conversation because of the harassment, not only to David and others, because he has one of the greatest gifts of being a storyteller. But you've also been stalking our website, so cyberstalking. So almost every day, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, IP address 73.141.97.122. Scott, we know it's you. Please stop cyberstalking not only us, Voices for Voices, but also David Solomon and his family. Be a human being and actually care for once. I know it's probably hard for you to do given the work that you do and that you're involved with. That some of it just started about 6-7 months ago. If we think about our records, that you've started to partake in the human trafficking. That initially you didn't, and then for some reason you decided to be front and center as well, and so don't think for a moment that don't think for a moment we don't know that. And I'm just going to read this because this is so powerful, so powerful in this moment. And so this comes from Luke chapter 8, line 17. Quote, "Nothing is hidden that won't be exposed, nor is anything concealed that won't be made known and brought to the light." And so again, that's from Luke chapter 8, line 17. And so Scott, by you joining in with Bryan and Von Ullman and the whole host of individuals, you've chosen really the side of being bad, and we don't want to see that happen to anybody, but unfortunately it has. So again, please, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, IP address 73.141.97.122. Scott, please stop cyberstalking Voices for Voices, as well as David Solomon and his family. And on that note as well, some of that cyberstalking you've been doing is trying to find out some of the strategy that we do and that we're undertaking, and some of the vision things that we want to do in the future. So I'll just say it again, just to be very clear. I've had at least one TikTok video on this, which for us to have 700 views is huge. I mean, we haven't been to go viral per se, but that's one of the biggest views. And what was that subject? Well, that subject matter was on the fact that our organization, Voices for Voices, is a registered trademark under the United States Patent and Trade Office. So that means the work that we do, if anybody comes and tries to steal what this is called, like intellectual property. So it's what's happening kind of on apps and the internet and all that, that they can be prosecuted for taking and stealing information. And so Scott, we know you've done that. We know that with Realm, you're taking specific words from our strategy on our what we do, and you're including that, starting to include phrases that weren't there a couple months ago. Now they're there, and not only that, but you're taking our transcripts and you're taking words from our shows as well, doing the same thing. And so we just want to let you know, just like we did in the TikTok, Scott, and anybody else who's out there, and I know President Trump agrees with all the patents and trademarks with MEGA and all that, that people that try to steal information can be prosecuted. And Scott, so we're just letting you know again that we know that you're cyber stalking us. We appreciate not to have that end. And then we also ask that you don't steal information from us, which can be prosecuted. So that's why we got the registered trademark of Voices for Voices from the United States Patent and Trade Office for reasons just like this. Just like Louis Vuitton can go after individuals who are selling fake Louis Vuitton handbags. Obviously parts are different in that story, but there's commonality of somebody's taking something that's not theirs, and they're doing something, and so those individuals are taking those Louis Vuitton bags, the real ones, and then re-engineering them, reverse engineering them, and then selling them, out of their trunks or wherever. Now with the digital resources we have, makes things much easier. That an individual doesn't have to park in a parking lot and pop open their trunk. So wanted to share that that's happening. So that's hitting home here, and so again, for the last time, please stop cyber stalking us. Scott, please do not take any Voices for Voices information, because if need be, we'll prosecute you and anybody else that that does that, because we strive to be a clean organization. We do talk about tough topics and tough situations, tough experiences. So we're not going to have individuals or other organizations go ahead and do that and get to that point. So we want to, again, just share that. And so, Scott, we know that's your IP address. And you might be asking, why am I sharing an IP address? Well, the reason I'm sharing an IP address of Scott is probably has a lot to do with the fact that you and others have leaked David Solomon's wife's cell phone number on TikTok videos, other social media platforms. You have called her a porn star and all these other ugly names. And so David Solomon, again, human trafficking survivor, his wife is getting calls and texts left and right from people that are, asking like, hey, can we meet up and all that. And so you went ahead and leaked that information, and you leaked, I believe, their license plate information. And that's just not right. We don't think anybody should have their private information shared unless they want to. So your IP address, Scott, that we know it's you, and we just say, please stop. This isn't like President Biden saying, no, stop. We're warning you. We made a TikTok video about it, and for us, we got the most views, and we're still getting views than we have on any of our other videos. And then, with this episode, it is going to the White House. It's being seen and heard, shared, and we believe that there's going to be action taken against Bryan Davis as it relates to human trafficking of David Solomon. That David Solomon's story is going to be resurrected, that mysteriously reports are going to come available. And just a hint on that, so Bryan and his network has canceled book contracts, movie scripts, the studios, anything that David has tried. And so that we don't think that's right for anybody to step in to that position and take somebody's livelihood away from them. But what it also shows is that the individual must be doing something right. That individual, because why would somebody be so adamant to want to cancel an individual's book contract, movie contract with the studio? And so that's very evident that all this activity has come up, and this is one thing we don't like to share many things when it comes to personal information, but there's really no easy way to say it. Bryan, we know that there are text messages between you and David Solomon that say that you're coming after his scripts, and it's not just that. You talk about you'll find him, and even if that means with a body bag. And so we all know what that means. So Bryan, we know that, and it's not even just us. That there's a lot of people that know that, and so we, and anybody out there in President Trump, this is I mean, it doesn't get more serious than this. So, somebody's texting about that, that we think is, it could be definitely tried in the court of law. And again, we don't take it lightly to bring it up. We really didn't want to, but something has to be done. David's case, something needs to be done. People need to be held accountable. The people that are doing the trafficking, they're being helped and helped cover up reports and all these pieces of evidence that are out there. And I have seen, again, as I mentioned before, I have seen actual written reports that came from the attending officer or detective, medical reports I've seen in passing. So those are out there. And we know, lastly, that President Trump, because that's how we know that you're watching and listening, because there was, and it probably been more than one communication between David's guardian that asked a lot of questions about David and human trafficking, and they bring up the fact that there's these reports out there that they know that Bryan Davis is involved, and so this is the U.S. government. So President Trump, you either know about this already, or you're now being made aware of it, and that comes out of the Cleveland office. And Secretary Kristi Noem, you probably know about this, being the Secretary of Homeland Security, and so on this call, these questions and things were coming up, and it was stated that Voices for Voices, Mr. Hayes, that we're being watched closely, and that the president is watching us as an organization in that. And so that's why we're really pleading for action to go against these individuals, not just Bryan, but everybody that is involved in any type of human trafficking, any type of breaking the law. And this is something that we know from David telling a story. There's details that only a person who was involved with this would know. And President Trump, we really, again, are out pleading to uncover, to resurrect the reports, again, that we have understood through communications recently that your administration knows. And one other thing that what we're going to close on is there's a show called Smallville, and I didn't know much about the show, but David mentioned it and how he had written the screenplay, so what the actors and actresses are saying and where they're at and the actions and movements they're making, and so he was mentioning how he had written for it, and it's been over definitely over 10 years that his name, so he goes under say ghostwriting names, and this was one of those areas, and I was able to verify that it is actually him, and so he now is being credited with being a writer on the show Smallville, and that just happened 2 weeks ago, and so I wanted to share that. And so we know something's going on. We know that people are taking notice, and we just want justice to be served. We want David and his wife to be able to have a happy life, to not worry and look over their shoulder. We want David's wife to be able to have a healthy and safe birth, and then just safety in general. Let's stop making the captors and individuals who are taking people and trafficking them, let's stop making them safe and have all the resources and all the people cover up for them, and let's actually do what we should have been doing from day one, is helping any and all human trafficking survivors. So until next time, I am your host, Voices for Voices founder, executive director, Justin Allen Hayes, and we hope you have a great day and be a voice for you or somebody in need.